So I'm talking to Jack Saylor, who is a artist living and working in Morehead City on the coast of North Carolina in the United States. And Jack, looking at your paintings online, I was absolutely kind of blown away, almost like a sea wind. um, I, I just the words were just coming tumbling through my head like waves breaking onto the shoreline. Um, these paintings are amazing. They're mesmerizing. They're exciting. They're profoundly calming at times. A lot of detail. The word romantic went through my mind, like the sea.
Right.
The sea stories, our own history, the romance of our history around the sea. And so, I was just delighted to find that a man with the name Saylor has such intelligent, precise craftsmanship, evoking and the salt smell of the ocean, the cries of the seagulls, the rolling, ponderous waves, all that romance, which I hadn't really realized it until I started looking at what I could see of your paintings, that it's embedded in my DNA. It's part of that association with sea seems many of us, we've never been to sea, yet we're of the ocean, I'm told that our very blood is composed the same, as much or more than of the land. So, I guess I gotta say that no matter where I found myself living, I'd want to have some of your images on my wall to make my history, be ever present. It would just be great. So, with that, I'm wondering, how did you get into this kind of work? I mean, how did you get to becoming the painter you are? What was the history of that?
Well, I like to cite the artist who said a while back, it was Carl Andre, I think it was, was quoted as saying, when he was asked, what made you get into art? And he said, well, as children, we all drew. He said, the question is, what made everybody else stop? And always, that just hit the nail on the head with me.
Sure.
It's something I did as a kid, and I think we all did, and my parents, I grew up in North Carolina, and we're blessed, to have the coast. No matter where you are in North Carolina, it's never really too far away. And so our family vacation inevitably was down to the beach. And I enjoyed the experience so much that I just didn't want it to end when I got back to the house. And so the one way to preserve that magic, that wonderful experience of being by the sea, was just to recall it in my memory and draw it on paper. And it allowed me to, at a very young age, to record an experience. And sure. I guess more importantly, it was not just an experience of an exact moment. It was an experience based on a memory, which can normally become a little exaggerated. Mm-hmm. And I learned to take that exaggerated emotion and weave it into actual experience as a way maybe of heightening an emotional response to the sea. But getting back to what you said earlier about the sea, I mean, you so perfectly stated it. I say that I paint the sea, and that covers a lot of territory, and that's both geographic as well as conceptual territory. And I do like to say that I don't just paint boats and water. I paint the romance of the sea, that romantic notion that I think we all feel deep down inside. It's that very thing that drives us sometimes to even do insane things, to be on the water or by the water. And it's a notion that I think a lot of people are born with. So, I'm able to use the sea as a hook or a way to get, a lot of people interested in looking at my work. And then the fact that I back up the subject matter with technique that's deeply inspired by another passion of mine, which is Dutch 17th century painters. The techniques and the craft of painting that was employed in Northern and Western Europe in the 17th century is something else that's just utterly fascinating to me, and is, in my personal opinion, it's the way paintings, should be made.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, it's I say that I like to use the craft of painting, not the act of painting, to make my expression.
Wow.
A lot of that comes from I've spent years in Europe
Yeah.
and studying not only art and art history, but I had the great privilege of working as a home furnishings product designer, of all things, for about 10 years in Spain and Italy, and got to work in some of the old artisan studios and saw how the master craftsmen employed centuries-old techniques. And a lot of that just rubbed off on me, and I sort of go back to the old traditional way of making art. So I thought, there's more than enough opportunity to represent the sea, the ocean, and everything that goes with it, with a technique like that. And it's sort of like, chocolate cake. Who doesn't really like chocolate cake and all the ingredients that goes into it? And I sort of see my recipe as being, something that's made up of ingredients that, people just, really can't resist.
Sure.
And so it's also been a marriage of subject matter and technique that has allowed me to sustain, myself as an artist for 20-some years.
Wow.
Life's been good.
That's just wonderful. What a fascinating story.